Hi, I'm Reverend Bea Smith. I am the Associate Pastor here at St. James, and there is a story here. St. James is the second oldest AME church in the state of Texas. AME is an acronym for African Methodist Episcopal Church. The church began in 1867 when the bishop appointed a pastor in an annual conference in Galveston, Texas, to come to this area. At that time in history, there weren't very many cities, and San Antonio was one, and was one that seemed to be growing. The church began its worship in a house, and it initially was called Green Church. At that time, the people decided they wanted a church building. They decided they would build their church, and they built it on San Pedro Creek. Within the perimeter of the church, about 100 African American families began to grow and to live, and the church grew. What started as a few members meeting in a house grew to more than 300 members that we are aware of. The church was located at St. Pedro Creek from 1872 to 1878. In 1878, they moved to their new location. The church was built on San Pedro Creek under the leadership of W.R. Carson, and the church was paid off and moved under the leadership of Abram Grant.
It's an amazing history, and I had to do a lot of catching up because the only thing I knew about St. James AME was the iteration that everyone now knows and its current location. The church has a long history. A group of former slaves established that church in the 1860s into early 1870s. And there are aspects of the church history that became lost. I had been hearing about the San Pedro Creek project, and I thought it was really cool because I'm big on tourism, and I thought, okay, cool, this is another place for us to take folks when they come in to San Antonio from out of town. Months passed, and then we hear about this foundation that has been uncovered, and everything is different now because that means the project has to go in a whole other direction because of what we had found.
We learned about the discovery from a Facebook message that was sent to us by Scott Holdelson. He made contact with us and he sent us an article. And so that's how we found out about it. And we thought it was absolutely wonderful. I cannot imagine building a building at that time and have it survive this long. It survived floods, I believe, as well as just the wear and tear of nature. And so I think it's a testimony to what the people did, and we need to celebrate them. And we need to celebrate them for their vision and for their sense of purpose and the history that they bring to San Antonio. In one of the meetings with the subcommittee for the San Pedro Creek project, we had a discussion that there were over 300 people who had been a part of that worshiping congregation from 1872 to 1878. And we felt that it would be important to try to identify those people if we could. I was not sure what kind of records we had, but I was sure that with help from other partner agencies, we would be able to identify the people who had built this church.
Which is how I got involved in this whole thing in the first place. One day, one of the present-day members, Mrs. Johnny Davis, she dropped in and said, "Can you help us?" And I was like, this is why I come to work every day. This is what you hope will happen. Somebody will come to you and ask you to join them in an historic hunt. And that's what it turned out to be.
We're collecting names from various places. Some of them are from obituaries, some of them are from family stories, some of them are from cemetery walks. And also, we have a wall of plaques and stained glass windows just outside these doors that also contain some of the names that we have discovered. As coordinator for the naming project, the one thing that has been, I think, a learning experience for me is the number of agencies that have come together to make this project happen. It's not just a St. James project, but it's a project of the library system, of the University of Texas, the Office of Historic Preservation, the San Antonio River Authority, all coming together to identify and verify the names that we are collecting.
We have to involve everybody. With a project of this caliber, everybody has a skill set, and that was important. We have Matthew, the archaeologist, Claudia, the historian, me, a librarian, members of the church. It's just been so helpful in getting this thing off the ground, getting it moving. We know we're going to get there. We have more names to uncover because once we began to find the names, again, you had to put on the little detective hat and find out, confirm, pour over research. We have archivists. You just had to have so many people working together to make this thing happen. And I can kind of relax now because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We have names. At that point, we're documenting, we're solidifying all these things that we had wondered about. And it's a really good example about capturing the stories, recovering those voices, and so that they get to live on. They're gone now, but they live on, what they endured. And I guess the agency that they had, how they wanted to take command of their own future, and they established that historic congregation, what would become an historic congregation.
Since we have a place where we can remember, this is a very important thing to remember. And for me, it's important because it shows the culture and development of San Antonio and how diverse it was even at that particular time in history, and the contributions that African Americans made to the growth of San Antonio. So I think it is very important for us to remember.